My name's Evelyn Hart, and I'm 35. I'm sitting in the back of a Virginia auditorium, heart pounding at my dad's military retirement ceremony. The program in my hand is creased from my grip, and my name's nowhere on it. Not among the family they'll honor. Dad's a colonel, a hero, and I've spent years cheering him on. So why am I erased? My stepmother's icy stare from the front row says it all. Have you ever felt invisible to those you love? Tell me where you're watching from, and if this resonates, please like and subscribe. The auditorium hums with low chatter, the kind that fills a room before something big. I'm still in the back row, the program now folded into a tight square in my lap. My fingers trace its edges as if I could will my name onto the page. Evelyn Hart, daughter of Colonel James Hart, should be there somewhere between Sheila, my stepmother, and Harper, my half-sister. But it's just their names printed in crisp, black ink under family acknowledgments. My chest tightens, a familiar ache I've carried since Sheila came into our lives. I scan the room, hoping to catch Dad's eye, but he's up front, surrounded by officers, his laugh loud and warm. He hasn't seen me yet, hasn't noticed I'm here tucked away like an afterthought. I smooth my dress, a simple navy thing I picked because it felt right for a military event, and try to shake off the hurt. This is his day, I tell myself. I'm here for him, not for recognition. But the program in my hand feels like a lie, one I can't ignore. I spot Harper near the stage, her blonde hair catching the light as she adjusts her earrings. She's 25 now, all grown up, but I still see the kid I used to carry on my shoulders. I start toward her, weaving through clusters of uniforms and polished shoes, my heart lifting a little. Maybe she'll smile. Maybe we'll share a moment before the ceremony starts. Harper, I call softly, reaching her side. She turns, but her eyes are cool, distant. "Oh, Evelyn," she says, her voice flat. "Didn't expect you here." Her words land like a slap, and I falter, my smile slipping. "It's Dad's retirement," I say, trying to keep my tone light. "Wouldn't miss it." She nods, but her gaze flicks to Sheila, who's chatting with a general nearby. "Right," Harper says, adjusting her purse. "Just don't make it about you, okay? This is Dad's day." I blink, stung, and before I can respond, she's turning away, drawn to Sheila's side like a magnet. I stand there rooted as the crowd's chatter swells around me. Harper's dismissal burns, but it's Sheila's shadow behind it that cuts deeper. I remember being 15, planning Dad's promotion party, stringing lights in our backyard, while Sheila smiled for the guests, taking credit for every detail. I was invisible then too, just a kid trying to make her dad proud. Now at 35, it feels like nothing's changed. A voice pulls me back, "Ms. Hart." I turn to see a young lieutenant, his uniform crisp, his eyes sharp with recognition. His name tag reads, Gabe. "I'm Lieutenant Gabe Wilson," he says, offering a handshake. "I've heard about you." I shake his hand, confused. Heard what I ask, my voice tighter than I mean it to be. He smiles, cryptic. "Your contributions," he says, then glances toward the stage. "You're part of this legacy, you know." I frown, unsure what he means. "I work in data analysis, a civilian job, nothing special." He must be talking about Dad mixing us up. The lights flicker, signaling the ceremony's start, and Gabe nods. "Better take your seat," he says, heading off. I watch him go, a strange unease settling in my gut. The auditorium darkens, and I slip back to my row. The program's still in my hand, Harper's words, and Gabe's cryptic comment tangling in my mind. Something's off, and I can't shake the feeling that it's about to get worse. The auditorium's hum fades as I slip into the hallway, needing air. My heels click on the polished floor, each step heavier than the last. Harper's words still burn. She thinks I don't belong here, that I'm crashing Dad's moment. I lean against a wall, the cool plaster grounding me, and pull out my phone. There's a photo from years ago, me and Dad at his first deployment send-off. I was 10, gap-toothed, holding a tiny flag. He'd knelt down, his uniform crisp, and said, "You're my anchor, Evie." I'd believed him. Now I wonder if he ever meant it. The hallway's quiet, but I hear footsteps. It's Sheila, her perfume hitting me before her voice does. Evelyn, you're making a scene just by being here, she says, her lips tight. She's in a navy dress, pearls gleaming every inch, the perfect military wife. This is about James, not you. I swallow the urge to snap back, but my hands shake. I'm here for Dad, I say, voice low. She steps closer, her smile sharp. Are you here to remind everyone you exist? I open my mouth, but she's already turning away, her heels echoing as she heads back to the auditorium. My chest tightens like someone squeezed the air out of me. She's always done this, rewritten my place in Dad's life, painted me as the selfish one. I think of the summers I spent helping Harper with her homework. While Dad was overseas, the nights I stayed up writing him letters he never answered. Sheila made sure those letters never reached him, didn't she? I head back toward the auditorium, but pause at a display case near the entrance. It's filled with medals, photos of soldiers, their names etched in brass. I scan them, half expecting to see Dad's face, but my eyes catch on a young man in uniform staring at me from across the hall. He's got a lieutenant's bars on his shoulders, his posture stiff, but his gaze curious. You're Evelyn Hart, right? He says, stepping closer. His name tag reads, Gabe. I nod, wary. I've heard about your work. He adds, his tone careful, like he's testing me. My work? I echo, confused. I'm a data analyst, or so my family thinks. Long hours at a desk crunching numbers for a government contractor. That's the story I've told for years, the safe one. Gabe tilts his head like he knows more than he's saying. Your contributions, he clarifies, but doesn't elaborate. My stomach twists. Is he mistaking me for someone else? Or does he know something I've kept buried? Before I can ask, the auditorium doors swing open and a wave of applause spills out. The ceremony's about to start. Gabe gives me a small nod, almost a salute, and heads inside. I'm left standing there, the display case reflecting my face back at me. My reflection looks older than 35 lines around my eyes, from years of carrying secrets. I shove my phone back in my purse, the photo of me and Dad tucked away, and follow the crowd inside. The lights dim as I find my seat again, the program still crumpled in my hand. The stage is lit now, a podium flanked by flags. Dad's in his dress uniform, standing tall beside Sheila and Harper. They're a perfect picture, his wife, his daughter, his legacy. I'm just a shadow in the back, unnoticed. The commander steps up, his voice booming through the speakers, welcoming everyone to honor Colonel James Hart. My heart aches with pride, but it's tangled with something sharper. As the commander lists Dad's achievements, I catch Sheila's eye. She's watching me, her expression unreadable but heavy. Harper's beside her, whispering something, and they both glance my way. My throat tightens. I've spent years proving I belong in this family, but tonight it's clear they've written me out. Gabe's words echo in my head, my contributions. What does he know that my own family doesn't? The applause grows louder, but I feel smaller, like I'm shrinking into the seat. Something's coming and I'm not ready for it. The commander's voice fills the auditorium, each word about Dad's service landing like a stone in my chest. I'm still in the back, the program now. A damp wad in my fist, my palms sweaty. The spotlight bathes Dad, Sheila, and Harper in a golden glow, their smiles practiced perfect. The crowd claps as the commander lists their support. Sheila's charity events, Harper's letters to troops. My name doesn't come up. Not once. I wait foolishly hoping, but the silence screams louder than the applause. I shift in my seat, my dress sticking to my skin. Dad's on stage, his chest puffed with pride, but he won't look my way, not even a glance. I remember being 22, skipping college to stay home when he was deployed to Iraq. I cooked for Harper, drove her to soccer, made sure she didn't feel alone. Sheila called me reckless, said I was wasting my life. I thought Dad saw it differently, that he knew I was holding our family together. Now watching him bask in the crowd's adoration, I'm not so sure. The commander steps back, and a screen lights up behind him showing photos of Dad's career. There's one of him and Sheila at a gala, another of Harper pinning a medal on him. I'm nowhere in those frames. My throat burns like I've swallowed glass. I want to stand to shout that I was there too, that I gave up pieces of myself for him, but my legs stay rooted heavy as lead. Sheila leans toward a woman beside her, her voice low but sharp enough to carry. "Evelyn's just here to stir trouble," she says, her eyes flicking to me. The woman nods, glancing back with pity. My face heats, anger curling in my gut. She's always done this, twisted my intentions, made me the problem. I think of the time I planned Dad's 50th birthday, spent weeks saving for a custom watch. Sheila presented it as her gift, and I stood in the corner, invisible. I look at Harper, hoping for some sign she sees me. She's staring at the stage, her hands clasped tight. I want to believe she's uncomfortable, that she knows this is wrong. But then she claps louder, her face glowing with pride for Dad, and my hope crumbles. She's chosen her side just like always. I'm alone in this sea of uniforms and applause, a stranger at my own father's ceremony. The commander introduces a guest speaker and the crowd quiets. I barely hear the words, my mind replaying every sacrifice I made. The nights I stayed up, worried sick when Dad's unit was under fire. The job offers I turned down to be there for Harper. I thought it mattered. I thought he saw me. But now, with Sheila's smirk burning into me, and Dad's eyes fixed anywhere but here, I feel like I've been erased. I catch movement to my left. Gabe, the lieutenant from earlier, sliding into a seat a few rows ahead. He turns his gaze steady, like he's checking on me. His words from the hallway echo, "Your contributions." My stomach twists. He knows something, but what? I'm just Evelyn, the daughter who gave too much and got nothing back. The speaker's voice rises, praising Dad's legacy, and the crowd roars again. I sink lower in my seat, anger and hurt clawing at me, threatening to spill over. My hands tremble as I smooth the crumpled program, the paper now soft from my grip. The guest speaker's voice drones on, listing Dad's medals, his tours, his sacrifices. The crowd eats it up, their claps a wall between me and the stage. I feel Gabe's eyes on me again, but I can't meet them. His cryptic words from earlier twist in my head, mocking me. Contributions. What contributions? I'm the daughter who doesn't exist up there. The one they forgot to name. I force myself to look at Dad. He's nodding along his face, a mask of humble pride, but there's a tightness in his jaw. Does he know I'm here? Does he care? I think of the last time we really talked 3 years ago at a family barbecue. I'd driven 6 hours to surprise him, only to find Sheila had planned a toast for Harper's college graduation. Dad barely acknowledged me, too busy posing for photos with them. I left early, my throat raw from holding back tears. Now the speaker steps aside, and the commander returns, announcing a special tribute to Dad's family. My heart lurches, a flicker of hope sparking. Maybe now. Maybe they'll say my name. He gestures to Sheila, who stands, her smile radiant as she waves to the crowd. Harper follows, blushing but proud, her dress catching the light. The applause swells and I wait, my breath caught. The commander pauses, then moves on to Dad's next award. My hope collapses, a sharp ache spreading through my chest. I'm not even a footnote. My fingers dig into my palms, nails biting skin. I want to scream, to run up there and demand they see me. But I stay frozen, the weight of their indifference pinning me down. Sheila's earlier words echo. She thinks I'm here to steal attention. Is that what Dad believes too? That I'm some selfish ghost crashing his moment? The thought cuts deeper than I expect, like a blade I didn't see coming. I glance at Harper again, searching for a crack in her composure. She's whispering to Sheila now, their heads close, and I catch the tail end of it. Why does she always have to make it about her? My stomach drops. Harper's not just siding with Sheila, she's rewriting me too, turning me into the villain. I think of the nights I braided her hair when she was little, promising her dad would come home safe. Was that all nothing to her? The crowd's applause fades and a hush falls as the commander starts a new story. Something about Dad's leadership in Kabul. I barely hear it. My mind is stuck on Sheila's smirk, Harper's words. Dad's averted gaze. I feel like I'm drowning in this room full of people, each clap a wave pulling me under. Gabe shifts in his seat ahead, turning slightly, his expression unreadable but intense. He mouths something, "Stay strong," but it only makes me feel more exposed, like he's seeing a wound I can't hide. A memory hits me unbidden. I was 25 visiting Dad at a base hospital after he was injured in a blast. I sat by his bed for hours holding his hand while Sheila was off handling press. He woke once groggy and called me Harper. I laughed it off then, but now it feels like a prophecy. I've always been the wrong daughter, the one who doesn't fit. The commander's voice rises, praising Dad's legacy, and the crowd roars again. I feel it coming, a storm I can't outrun. The auditorium feels like it's closing in the air, thick with the crowd's anticipation. I'm gripping the armrest, my knuckles white as the commander's voice shifts to a new tone, one that makes my skin prickle. He's done praising Dad's career, and now he's talking about a surprise. Tonight, he says, his eyes scanning the room, we honor someone whose work has redefined courage. My mind races. Another award for Dad, maybe? Or some general I've never heard of. I lean forward, caught off guard. The screen behind him flickers, showing a grainy photo of a desert base, soldiers huddled over maps. I know that place. My breath catches. That's where I was stationed years ago on a mission I've never spoken about. My heart hammers as the commander continues, his voice steady but charged. This individual led covert operations that saved countless lives, all while maintaining absolute secrecy. The crowd murmurs, intrigued, but I'm frozen, a chill running down my spine. He pauses, letting the tension build, then says, "Please stand, General Evelyn Hart." The room erupts in applause, a deafening wave that crashes over me. My name, my real name, not just Evelyn, but General, echoes in my ears. I can't move. My legs feel like they're bolted to the floor. The spotlight swings toward the back, searching, and I realize it's looking for me. The crowd's clapping grows louder, but all I hear is the blood rushing in my head. I glance at the stage, and Dad's face is pale, his eyes wide with shock. Sheila's mouth hangs open, her hand clutching Harper's arm. Harper's staring at me, her expression a mix of confusion and something like betrayal. I want to shrink away, to disappear, but the spotlight finds me, pinning me in its glare. The commander's voice cuts through again. "General Hart, your leadership in classified intelligence operations has earned our highest honor." My mind reels. This isn't supposed to happen. I've spent a decade keeping my work hidden, burying it under lies about desk jobs and data analysis. I think of the nights in that desert, poring over intel, making calls that saved soldiers but cost me sleep, relationships, a life I could share with my family. I never told Dad, not because I didn't trust him, but because I wanted to protect him from the weight of it. Now it's all spilling out, and I'm not ready. The crowd's on its feet now, their applause relentless, but I catch a hiss from the stage. Sheila's voice, sharp and venomous, reaches me over the noise. "What the hell is she doing here?" she snaps loud enough for those nearby to turn. Dad's still staring, his hands clenched at his sides like he's trying to process a truth he never saw coming. Harper's eyes dart between me and Sheila, her face crumpling as if she's been slapped. I force myself to stand, my knees shaky, the room spinning. Every step toward the aisle feels like wading through water. I'm not dressed for this. My simple black dress screams civilian, not general. The crowd parts, their faces a blur of awe and curiosity. I catch Gabe's nod from the side, his eyes steady like he knew this was coming. Of course he did. He was part of my unit, one of the few who knew my rank, my sacrifices. The commander's waiting at the stage, his smile warm but firm, like he's daring me to own this moment. I'm halfway there when I hear Dad's voice, low and strained, barely audible. "Evelyn." It's not pride in his tone. It's disbelief, maybe even hurt. My chest tightens, a storm of emotions colliding. Pride for what I've done, pain for what it's cost me, and fear that this truth might break us further apart. The medal's cold weight sits heavy in my palm as I step off the stage, the crowd's applause fading into a dull hum. My legs are unsteady, but I force myself to walk past the front row where Sheila's glare burns and Harper's tear-streaked face avoids mine. Dad's still seated, his hands clasped so tight his knuckles are white. I don't look at him. Not yet. The reception hall waits beyond the auditorium doors, and I need space to breathe, to think, to figure out what comes next. I slip into a quiet corner of the hall where tables are draped in crisp white linen silverware gleaming under chandeliers. Officers and their families mingle their laughter, a stark contrast to the storm inside me. I set the medal down on a table, its engraved words, "Courage and silence," staring back. Silence. That's what I chose, thinking it would protect Dad. Protect Harper, keep our family whole. But it only gave Sheila room to erase me. My purse is slung over my shoulder and I pull out a small bundle of letters, their edges worn from years of being carried. I wrote them during my mission's updates to Dad about my life, my work, carefully worded to avoid classified details. I sent them to his base, trusting they'd reach him. They never did. Sheila's face flashes in my mind, her smug certainty that I was nothing. She intercepted them, didn't she? Made sure Dad never knew who I'd become. I'm startled by footsteps, and I turn to see Dad approaching, his dress uniform slightly rumpled now. His eyes are red, his jaw set, but there's a hesitation in his step, like he's afraid I'll bolt. "Evelyn," he says, his voice low, cracking on my name. "Why didn't you tell me?" The question lands like a punch, and for a moment I'm back in that hospital room, 25 years old, watching him call me Harper in his sleep. I want to scream that I tried, that I wrote, that I begged to be seen. Instead, I hold up the letters, my hands steady, despite the ache in my chest. I say, my voice quieter than I feel. These were for you. Every mission, every year. They never got through. His face crumples and he reaches for them, but I pull back, not ready to let go. Sheila made sure of that. I add the truth sharp on my tongue. He flinches like I've struck him, and for the first time I see guilt in his eyes, raw and unfiltered. Before he can respond, Sheila's voice cuts through the hum of the reception. "James, don't let her manipulate you," she says, striding toward us, her heels clicking with purpose. Her eyes flash with defiance, but there's a tremor in her voice, like she knows she's losing ground. "She's spinning stories to ruin your night." The accusation stings, but I'm done shrinking. I step forward, meeting her gaze, my heart pounding with a resolve I haven't felt in years. "Enough," I say, my voice firm, cutting through her words. "You don't get to rewrite me anymore." The room seems to quiet, a few heads turning our way. Sheila's mouth tightens, but I don't back down. I turn to Dad, holding the letters out again. "Read them," I say, my tone softer but unyielding. "Then tell me who's been lying." His hands shake as he takes them, his eyes locked on mine, searching for something, maybe the daughter he thought he knew. I feel a spark inside, a strength I've buried under years of doubt. I'm not just Evelyn, the forgotten daughter. I'm General Hart, and I've carried more than they'll ever know. Sheila's still glaring, but her power's slipping, and I'm not done yet. There's more to say, more to do, and I'm ready to fight for my place. Sheila's eyes narrow, but I hold my ground, the letters now in Dad's hands, their weight a quiet proof of my truth. The reception hall's chatter dips, curious glances flickering our way, but I don't care who's watching. I'm done letting her paint me as the outsider. Dad's fingers trace the envelopes, his brow furrowed like he's holding a puzzle he can't solve. Sheila steps closer, her voice sharp. "You're embarrassing yourself, Evelyn. This isn't your stage." Her words are meant to cut, but they glance off me now. I turn to the crowd, my pulse steady, and spot the commander near a table, his gaze calm but expectant. I walk toward him, the medal still in my hand, its edges pressing into my palm. "Sir," I say loud enough for those nearby to hear, "I need to speak." He nods, stepping aside, and I face the room, my voice clearer than I expect. This ceremony honors my father, Colonel James Hart, a man who taught me duty. But it's also for the unsung, those who serve in shadows, who carry burdens alone. The room quiets, faces turning toward me. I see Gabe near the back, his nod subtle but firm, urging me on. I think of the soldiers I led, the ones who trusted me in the dark, their names never spoken in rooms like this. I dedicate this honor, I say, lifting the medal to them and to my father whose service inspired mine. The crowd claps softer now, but it's not their approval I need. It's mine. I turn back to Dad, who's still clutching the letters, his eyes wet. Harper's behind him, her hands twisting her dress, her face a mix of shame and awe. Sheila's frozen, her defiance crumbling under the room's attention. I walk to Harper, pulling a small sketch from my purse, a crayon drawing she made at 7, a stick figure family with me in the middle. "You gave me this," I say, my voice low, just for her. "I kept it because you were my family even when I wasn't yours." Her eyes widen, tears spilling, and she takes the drawing, her fingers trembling. I don't wait for her response. I face Dad again, my heart heavy but sure. "I forgive you," I say, the words hard but true. "But I won't let anyone erase me again. Not you, not Sheila." His mouth opens, but no words come, only a nod, like he's seeing me for the first time. Sheila starts to speak, but Gabe steps forward, his voice cutting through. "Colonel Hart," he says to Dad, holding out a tablet. "These are declassified reports. Evelyn's missions. Read them." Dad takes it, his hands unsteady, and I see the moment he realizes the scope of what I've done. Sheila's face pales, her control slipping. But I'm not here for her defeat. I'm here for me. I step back, the medal, now tucked in my pocket, its weight no longer a burden. The crowd's murmurs fade as I look at Dad, at Harper, at the life I've fought to reclaim. I don't need their applause or their regret. I need them to know I'm whole with or without them. I walk toward the hall's exit, my steps firm, and pause at the door. I look back, my eyes meeting Dad's, and in that quiet moment, I feel a strength that's mine alone. I'm sitting on the porch of Dad's house in Virginia, 3 days after the ceremony, the late summer air heavy with the scent of cut grass. The wooden swing creaks under me, a sound that feels louder than it should in the quiet. My coffee's gone cold in the mug beside me, untouched since I poured it an hour ago. Inside, Dad's voice carries through the open window, low and halting, talking to someone on the phone. I don't catch the words, but the weight in his tone tells me enough. That night at the reception, when I handed him those letters and spoke to the room, something shifted. Not just in me, but in the space between us all. I'd walked out of the hall, leaving Dad with the tablet Gabe gave him, those reports laying bare the missions I'd kept secret. I didn't wait to see his reaction. I couldn't. But now, here the aftermath is settling in, and it's messier than I imagined. Yesterday, Dad showed up at my hotel unannounced, his eyes bloodshot, the tablet still in his hand. He didn't say much at first, just sat across from me in the lobby, flipping through the pages. "You saved a whole unit in Aleppo," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. "And I didn't know." I nodded, my throat tight, unsure if he was proud or ashamed. He apologized, then his words stumbling, saying he'd been blind, that Sheila had fed him lies about my absence. I listened, but I didn't absolve him. Not yet. Now on the porch, I hear the screen door squeak, and Harper steps out, her sneakers scuffing the wood. She's holding a glass of water, her knuckles pale around it. "Can I sit?" she asks, her voice small, like she's afraid I'll say no. I nod, scooting over, and she settles beside me, the swing swaying slightly. We don't talk for a minute, the silence thick but not hostile. I notice her hair's tied back with a scrunchie I gave her when she was 12, a faded blue thing I'd forgotten about. I read some of the reports, she says, staring at her glass. "The ones Gabe left. I didn't know you did all that." Her words are careful, like she's testing the ground between us. I don't respond right away, my mind flashing to the drawing I gave her at the reception, the way her hands shook when she took it. "I thought you just left," she adds, her voice cracking. "Mom, Sheila said you didn't care about us." I swallow hard, the sting of that lie sharper than I expect. I cared. I say, my voice steady but low. I always did. Harper nods, but her eyes stay on the glass, like she's afraid to look at me. I want to reach for her, to pull her into a hug like I did when she was little, but something holds me back. The years of distance, maybe, or the fear she'll pull away. Inside, Dad's voice stops, and I hear his footsteps, heavy and slow. He steps onto the porch, his face drawn, the tablet tucked under his arm. "Sheila's gone," he says, not looking at either of us. "Left this morning. Said she needed space." His tone is flat, but I catch the tremor in it, the kind that comes from losing something you didn't realize was broken. Harper's breath hitches, and I feel her tense beside me, her fingers tightening around the glass. I don't say anything. I think of Sheila's voicemail, the one I found on my phone last night, her voice sharp and brittle. "You've ruined everything, Evelyn," she'd said. "This family was fine without you." I deleted it, the act feeling final, like closing a door. But now, with Dad standing there, his shoulders slumped and Harper's silence pressing against me, I wonder what I've really done. The truth was supposed to set us free, but it feels like it's torn us open instead. The porch swing stills as Dad's words hang in the air. Sheila's gone. Harper's glass trembles in her hand, a faint ripple across the water's surface. I keep my eyes on the lawn where fireflies blink in the dusk, their light faint but stubborn. Dad doesn't move, his silhouette rigid against the doorframe, the tablet a dark shape under his arm. I wait for him to say more, to explain, but he just stands there like he's lost something he can't name. Harper sets her glass down on the porch rail, the clink sharp in the quiet. She didn't even say goodbye. She murmurs, her voice barely audible. I glance at her, catching the way her jaw tightens, the way she's trying to hold herself together. I want to tell her it's okay to hurt, but the words feel hollow. Sheila was her mother, her anchor, even if she was a flawed one. I know what it's like to lose someone you thought you needed. Dad finally steps forward, his boots heavy on the wood. "I should have seen it," he says, his voice rough, like he's been chewing on the words for hours. "All those years I let her make me think you didn't care." He's looking at me now, his eyes raw, pleading for something I'm not sure I can give. I nod just once because it's all I have left. Forgiveness is one thing, but trust is another. I think of the dinner we had last night, just the three of us, the first in years. Dad tried to fill the silence with stories of his early deployments, but his laughter felt forced, and Harper barely touched her food. I kept waiting for Sheila's shadow to fade, but it lingered in the empty chair, in the way Dad's hand shook when he poured the wine. Now, with her gone, that shadow feels heavier, like it's settled into the cracks of this house. My phone buzzes in my pocket and I pull it out, half expecting another of Sheila's voicemails. It's an email from Gabe, a job offer for a new intelligence role, high-level overseas. "You're the best for this," he writes. I stare at the screen, the words blurring. A month ago, I'd have jumped at it, packed my bags, left this mess behind. But now the idea feels like running, and I'm tired of running. Harper shifts beside me, her shoulder brushing mine, and I realize she's watching me, her eyes searching. "Are you staying?" she asked, the question so soft it could break. I don't answer right away, my gaze drifting back to the fireflies, their glow a quiet defiance against the dark. I think of the years I spent proving myself to strangers, to soldiers, to myself. Maybe it's time to prove something to the people right here. Dad clears his throat, stepping closer. "I'm hosting a dinner tomorrow," he says, his voice steadier now. "Just us. To start over." He looks at me. Then Harper, his hands open like he's offering something fragile. Harper nods, a small, hesitant smile breaking through. I don't smile, but I meet his eyes, seeing the man who used to carry me on his shoulders, the one I thought could fix anything. The air grows cooler, the fireflies fading one by one. I lean back in the swing, the creak of the chains a soft rhythm. Dad's still waiting for my answer, and Harper's holding her breath. I feel the weight of their hope, their guilt, their need for me to be the one to mend this. But all I can think is how empty I feel, like I've poured everything out and there's nothing left to give. I'm walking through a park near Dad's house, the gravel path crunching under my boots. It's early autumn, and the air carries a crispness that makes my breath visible. Leaves drift down red and gold, catching the morning light. I've got a scarf wrapped loose around my neck, the one Harper knitted for me years ago when she was still small enough to sit in my lap. It's frayed now, but I like the way it feels, imperfect but warm. The park's quiet, just a few joggers and a dog chasing its tail in the distance. I find a bench by a small pond, the water still reflecting the trees like a painting. I sit my hands in my pockets and let the silence settle over me. It's been a week since the ceremony, since Sheila left, since Dad and Harper started looking at me like I'm someone new. I'm not sure I'm ready for that wait, but I'm here trying. Last night's dinner was different from the one before. Dad cooked his old recipe for chili, the kind he used to make when I was a kid. He didn't talk much, but he kept refilling my bowl, his way of saying he's trying. Harper laughed for the first time in days, telling a story about her new job at a bookstore. I watched them, feeling like I was seeing them clearly, not through the haze of hurt I'd carried so long. I pull a small notebook from my bag, one I've kept since my first deployment. It's filled with sketches, quick lines of places I've been, desert horizons, city rooftops, faces of soldiers I'll never forget. I flip to a blank page and start drawing the pond, the pencils scratch a soft rhythm. I think about a moment during a mission in Jordan when I sat alone on a rooftop, the stars so bright they felt like they could swallow me. I'd been scared then, not of the job, but of losing myself to it. That fear's gone now, or at least it's quieter. I've spent so long proving I was enough to Dad, to Harper, to the world. But sitting here with the leaves falling and the pond steady, I realize I don't need to prove anything anymore. I'm enough for me. The thought feels like a deep breath when I've been holding for years. My phone vibrates, a text from Dad. He's planning a trip for us, just the three of us, to the mountains next month. Your choice of cabin, he writes, and I smile, picturing him at his kitchen table typing with one finger. I don't reply yet, but I will. For now, I keep sketching the pencil, tracing the curve of a willow by the water. The lines aren't perfect, but they're mine, and that's all that matters. A breeze ripples the pond, scattering the reflection of the trees, and I close my notebook, tucking the pencil behind my ear. The park feels softer now, the joggers gone, the dogs bark, a faint echo. I lean back on the bench, my scarf slipping to my shoulder, and let my eyes trace the sky where clouds drift slow and heavy. There's a quiet in me, not the kind that comes from winning, but from letting go of the fight. Yesterday I drove to the base to see the commander. His office was small, cluttered with maps and old coffee mugs, but his handshake was firm. "You did us proud, General," he said, sliding a letter across his desk. It was from a soldier I'd saved in Yemen, a man I never met. He wrote about his daughter, how he named her Evelyn because of me. I read it twice, my fingers steady, and thanked the commander. I didn't need more medals. That letter was enough. I think about calling Gabe, the one person who saw me through those covert years. My phone's in my hand, his number pulled up, but I hesitate. He's back in D.C., now probably buried in reports. I text instead a simple, "Thank you for everything." No reply comes, and I'm okay with that. Some connections don't need words to hold. I slip the phone into my bag and stand brushing leaves off my jeans. As I walk back along the path, I pass a family tossing a frisbee, their laughter sharp and bright. I think of Harper's scrapbook, the one she brought to dinner last night. She'd glued in a photo of us at a county fair, my arm around her, both of us sticky with cotton candy. "I found it in the attic," she said, her voice shy. I didn't say much, just traced the photo with my finger, but it felt like a bridge, small but steady. Dad's text about the mountain trip sits unanswered in my phone. I'll say yes, but not today. Today I'm here with the gravel under my boots and the air cool against my face. I stop at the park's edge where a single oak stands, its branches bare but strong. I touch its bark, rough under my palm, and think of all the storms it's weathered. I'm not whole yet, not fully, but I'm standing, and that's enough for now. I turn toward home, the path stretching out, each step lighter than the last. The pond's behind me, its surface calm again, holding the sky in its quiet way. I don't look back. I'm in my apartment, the morning light slanting through the blinds, painting stripes across my kitchen table. It's been 3 months since the ceremony, and I'm 35 now, sitting with a journal open in front of me, a pen resting in my hand. The pages are half filled with thoughts I've been untangling, words that feel like steps toward something new. My coffee's steaming, the mug warm against my palm, and the quiet feels like a friend, not an enemy. I've started running again, a habit I dropped years ago when missions took over. Every dawn, I lace up my sneakers and jog through the neighborhood, past brick row houses and kids on scooters. The rhythm of my steps, the burn in my lungs. It's grounding. I don't run to escape anymore. I run to feel alive, to remind myself I'm here, not defined by medals or secrets or the family I fought to reclaim. Dad and Harper come over every Sunday now. We cook together simple things like pasta or burgers, the kitchen crowded with their laughter and my playlists. Last week, Harper brought a new recipe for lemon cake, her hands dusted with flour as she grinned. Dad chopped onions, teasing me about my knife skills, his voice lighter than I've heard in years. It's not perfect, but it's ours, a rhythm we're building one meal at a time. I've stopped checking my phone for Sheila's messages. The last one came a month ago, a curt text about picking up her things. I didn't reply. I don't hate her anymore, but I don't need her in my story. I think about her sometimes, the way she clung to control, and I wonder if she was running from her own kind of pain. It doesn't excuse her, but it makes her human, and that's enough for me to let go. My journal's open to a fresh page, and I write about the soldier's daughter, the one named after me. I haven't met her, but I keep her father's letter in a drawer folded neat beside my old notebook of sketches. It's a reminder that my choices mattered even when no one saw them. I don't need the world to know my name. I need to know it myself, to carry it without shame or apology. The clock ticks softly, marking the slow start of the day. I sip my coffee, the bitterness sharp but good, and look out the window. A neighbor's walking her dog, the leash swinging loose, and I smile, small but real. I'm not the Evelyn who sat in that auditorium, erased and aching. I'm not the general who hid her truth. I'm just me, and for the first time that feels like enough. I close my journal, the pen rolling to a stop against the table's edge. The apartment's quiet, just the hum of the fridge and the faint clatter of dishes from a neighbor's kitchen. I stand stretching and walk to the window where the street below is waking up. A delivery truck idles its driver, flipping through a clipboard, and I watch him, struck by how ordinary it all is. Ordinary, but precious, because I'm here to see it, no longer carrying the weight of secrets or silence. I think about the woman I was a year ago, the one who measured her worth by others' approval. I'd spent so long trying to be the daughter Dad could brag about, the sister Harper could lean on, the soldier the world would remember. But none of that filled the hole inside me. It wasn't until I stood in that auditorium, my truth laid bare, that I realized the only approval I needed was my own. That's the lesson I carry now. Freedom isn't about being seen by others. It's about seeing yourself, flaws and all, and choosing to keep going. I've learned to forgive too, not the loud, showy kind, but the quiet sort that lets you breathe. I forgive Dad for his blindness, Harper for her distance, even Sheila for her cruelty. Not because they deserve it, but because I deserve peace. And I've learned that family isn't just the people you're born to. It's the ones who choose you, who sit with you in the mess and don't look away. For me, that's Dad and Harper now, and maybe others I haven't met yet. I keep a small box on my shelf filled with things that matter: the soldier's letter, a photo from our last Sunday dinner, a pebble from the park pond. They're not trophies, just reminders that every choice I made, every scar I earned, built the woman I am. I don't need to be a general or a hero. I just need to be Evelyn, and that's a story worth telling. I want to hear from you now. What's one moment when you saw yourself clearly, maybe for the first time? Share it in the comments. I'd love to read your story. If this resonated, please give it a like, subscribe, or share it with someone who might need it. Your support means the world to me. Thank you for listening, for being here. Keep choosing yourself, and I'll see you soon.